All right, let's dive into something pretty magical today. We're going to go on a little quest to uncover the hidden power that's literally humming inside our own language. It's a practice the author Katie Ness calls word witchery, and trust me, it's fascinating. Let's get started.
So let's just start with this core idea right here. Words are magic, and that's why it's called spelling. I mean, think about that for a second. It's this concept that's, well, it's both kind of playful, but also really profound, right? The idea that when we speak or write, we're not just, communicating, we're casting. We're literally spelling things into existence.
And you know what's wild? It's actually incredible how simple it is to see this magic in action. Just look at this. You take the word word, add an S, and suddenly you have a sword, a weapon, something that can cut deep. But then take that same word, add an L, and you create a whole world. I mean, that perfectly shows the dual power we hold, right? Our words can be weapons, or they can be these incredible instruments of creation.
Okay, so let's start our journey right at the source of this power. We're going to explore that secret, ancient link between language and magic. This whole exploration really started from a very personal place for the author. It was born out of a personal crisis, a time of deep grief. And in that distress, she found poetry just bubbling up inside her. It became this kind of breadcrumb trail, leading her out of a really dark place, and it sparked this huge quest to figure out why. Why do words have this incredible healing power? And what's amazing is that her quest quickly showed her she was not alone in feeling this. She stumbled upon this ancient Irish concept called embosphorosnai, which translates to inspired illumination. And get this, it's the idea that poets could actually enter a kind of ritual state to receive words directly from the divine. And these weren't just any words, they were words meant to bring wisdom and healing to the entire community. So we're not just talking about creative writing here. This was seen as a truly sacred act. So this idea of word magic isn't new at all. It actually has a history that goes back thousands of years, carried by voices that sadly have often been broken up or just forgotten over time.
I mean, just look at how far back this tradition goes. We're talking 2300 BCE. That's over 4,000 years ago. The Sumerian priestess Enheduanna was writing these powerful hymns to the goddess Inanna. Then you jump forward a bit and we see it in ancient Egyptian tombs, hymns literally carved into the walls to help souls find their way in the afterlife. And of course, in Celtic traditions, poetry and incantations were just completely woven into the fabric of everyday life.
And listen to this. This is from a hymn to Nisaba, the Sumerian goddess of writing. Good woman, chief scribe, record keeper, wise sage of the gods. I mean, just listen to those titles. In these earliest civilizations, writing wasn't just, a practical skill. It was a sacred duty. And so often it was women who were its most revered keepers.
Okay, let's meet another one of these incredible voices, Anagit of Tija. She was a famous Greek poet back in the 3rd century BCE who wrote these amazing invocation hymns. And sadly, most of her epic poetry is just gone, lost to time. But her influence was so huge that her name is literally written in the stars. Well, okay, on a crater on the planet Mercury. But still, it's this tiny, amazing echo of a once powerful voice that has lasted all this time.
Now, let's jump forward a bit to the 12th century. Here we find the Comtesse de Dia, who was a female troubadour. And what's so remarkable about her work is that she wrote completely from a woman's point of view. She sang about heartbreak, sure, but also about this powerful sense of self-worth, even when she was betrayed. It feels incredibly modern.
The thing is, we often have to piece this history together from these incredible, tiny fragments. It's like we're historical detectives. For example, check this out. 16th century Italian knives. But they weren't for fighting. They were engraved with musical notes and prayers that were meant to be sung at banquets. Just think about that. Magic and meaning were literally etched right into everyday objects. And all of this really brings us to the divine archetypes who inspired so much of this work. We're talking about the goddesses who embody all the different sides of this creative and destructive power. At the absolute heart of this tradition is this beautiful idea. What you see in me is also in you. It's this belief that the qualities we worship in the divine are really just reflections of what's already inside of us. So when we pray to a goddess of wisdom or a goddess of love, we're actually activating that very same wisdom and love within ourselves. But here's the thing. These divine forces are anything but simple or one-dimensional. Just take a look at this.
You have Hecate, right? We usually think of her as the goddess of the underworld. But look at her other titles: nourisher of life, birth helper. And then you've got Aphrodite, the goddess of love, who is also called killer of men, and she upon the graves. Wow, this contrast, this duality, it's completely intentional.
And that complexity is exactly the point. It brings us right back to the beginning, right? Just like a word can become a sword or a world, these archetypes teach us that huge forces like love and death, creation and destruction, they're all deeply intertwined. They're a reminder of the full, and yes, sometimes contradictory, spectrum of power that exists in everything.
Okay, so we've journeyed through history, we've met the divine. Now it's time to bring it all home and make this really practical. So how can we tap into this ancient tradition of word witchery right now, today?
Yeah, this isn't about, becoming some kind of historical reenactor. The key thing to understand is that this is a living, breathing tradition. It's something you can be a part of right now with really simple tools and your own focused intention.
Here's a really beautiful and tangible example from the author, A Love Spell in an Orange. It's super simple. First, you write a love poem. That's the physical form of your intention. Then you place it inside a small orange, which is a great symbol of joy and sweetness. You bind the spell by piercing it with 3 pins. Then, after 3 days, you take the pins out and give the orange back to nature like an offering. See how that works? It's not about some big supernatural explosion or anything. It's a simple ritual that combines your focused intention, the creative act of writing poetry, and a connection to the natural world. It's all about giving your words real weight, focus, and power. And that brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important part of this whole journey. This is the part where the power gets handed right back to you.
Because after exploring all this history and all these divine ideas, the ultimate realization is this: the magic was never really out there somewhere. It's in you. You are the next link in this incredibly long, ancient chain, the next poet, the next troubadour. Your voice is the one that matters now.
So if you want to start unlocking your own story, here are just a few simple prompts to get you going. You could ask yourself, heartbreak has taught me, or what if your future self sent you a letter? What would it say? You could even try to find a magical motto for yourself, something like, through the fire and light. Or just find your own personal power word, something like waterfall or victory, that really resonates with you.
Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's about recognizing that your voice, your story, your words, they are sacred tools. You can build entire worlds with them, or you can wield them like swords. The choice, and all the magic that comes with it, is yours. So the only real question left is, what will you create?